He was the real deal, a man who seemed born of the harsh Alaskan wilderness. For years, we watched him fly his bush plane into the frozen unknown, build a life with his bare hands, and navigate a world where one mistake could be your last. But the TV cameras, with their manufactured drama, never captured the full story. They missed the quiet, near-fatal brushes with death and the profound personal toll that would lead the legendary mountain man to make a choice that stunned everyone. This is the story of the real tragedies and triumphs of Marty Meierotto. For 8 seasons on the History Channel's hit series, Mountain Men, Marty Meierotto was a link to a forgotten way of life. He wasn't playing a character, he was living a reality most of us can only imagine. His journey started not in Alaska, but in the woods of northern Wisconsin, where his father taught him to trap at just 8 years old. That early spark lit a fire, a longing for the ultimate wilderness, Alaska. For Marty, it was the ultimate expression of freedom. In 1985, he made the leap. He and his brother drove north to Alaska with almost nothing to their names, some say as little as $10. His plan was simple: to live in the woods. The early years were tough. He took on grueling jobs as a janitor, logger, and construction worker in Fairbanks, saving every penny for traps and gear. He eventually built a home base with his wife, Dominique, and their daughter, Noah, in the small town of Two Rivers, but his real home was a one-room cabin he built himself, 200 miles north of Fairbanks on the Drangic River. His iconic Piper Super Cub airplane was his only link to this remote outpost, where he'd spend weeks running a trapline on his snowmobile. To make ends meet in the summer, he took on an even more dangerous job: smoke jumping. He started with the Chena Hotshots in 1988 and became an official Alaska smoke jumper in 1994, one of only 4 to graduate from his class. Over his career, he'd logged more than 300 jumps into the heart of raging wildfires. His TV fame came unexpectedly. After journalist Bill Heavey profiled him for a Field and Stream article, producers came calling. Marty was reluctant, wary of the drama of reality television. He eventually agreed, hoping to show the world what the life of a trapper was really like. On screen, viewers saw a man of incredible skill and quiet confidence, someone who could fend off wolves and build a cabin with equal ease, a man who seemed, for all intents and purposes, invincible. Behind the rugged image on TV was a man walking a razor's edge every single day. The wilderness wasn't just a backdrop for a show, it was a constant adversary that dealt out life-or-death tests. The writer who brought him to fame, Bill Heavey, even noted how different the real Marty was from his TV persona. The real Marty was methodical and averse to drama, because in the bush, drama is what gets you killed. The true story of Marty Meierotto isn't about the dangers played up for television, but about the very real, unscripted moments that nearly ended it all and forced him to confront the true cost of the life he loved. Living in the Alaskan bush means accepting that your life is constantly on the line. One of Marty's most terrifying moments happened not with an animal, but with the machine that was his lifeline. While flying his Super Cub over his territory, the engine suddenly died, and the plane plunged into a nosedive. In a moment of pure terror, he wrestled with the controls and managed to pull off an emergency landing. But his ordeal wasn't over. He survived the crash only to find himself stranded, alone, and without his survival gear for a long, brutal night in the wilderness until he could be rescued. That incident was a stark reminder of his vulnerability, but it was far from his only close call. His skills were famously put to the test when Field and Stream writer Bill Heavey came to visit for the article that would make Marty famous. While out on the trapline, Heavey lost control of his snowmobile and got separated from Marty in the -30-degree cold. Lost and slowly freezing, Heavey was in mortal danger. He luckily remembered the advice Marty's wife, Dominique, had given him before he left: never leave the cabin without a lighter and some paper in your pocket. You got that? He managed to start a small fire, a tiny beacon in the vast whiteness that allowed Marty, who was methodically tracking him, to find him and save his life. For Marty, this was just another day at the office, but these moments carried immense weight. The constant risk wasn't just his to bear. The tight-knit community of Alaskan trappers knows that the wilderness can be as unforgiving as it is beautiful. Losing a fellow trapper to an accident is a familiar pain, a somber reminder that experience and skill are no guarantee of survival. These unseen hardships, the near misses and the sobering reality of the dangers, began to chip away at Marty, forcing him to re-evaluate everything. How does a man who has mastered his environment cope with the constant psychological pressure of knowing that he, or those he loves, could be taken in an instant? For Marty Meierotto, the accumulation of these risks led to a profound shift in his priorities. The thrill of the wild was slowly being overshadowed by something far more important: his family. The long weeks away and the nights his wife and daughter spent waiting for his safe return began to weigh on him. So, in 2019, at the peak of his fame, he did the unthinkable. He announced he was leaving Mountain Men. Fans were stunned. His reason was simple and deeply personal. His daughter, Noah, was a teenager, and he wanted to pass down his knowledge of the trapline to her, just as his father had done for him. But he wanted to do it without an audience. "I thought a lot about it and that's the decision I made," he explained on the show. "It's gonna be the best for her and family time and all that." He was choosing family over fame, fatherhood over his public persona. In a poignant moment, he put it all in perspective: "At the end of the day, I'm just a trapper." If you're lying on your deathbed, you're not going to be thinking about how much money you made or some job you had. You're going to be thinking about what you've done with your life. This wasn't just a break from TV. That same year, on June 30, 2019, Marty also retired from his 31-year career with the Alaska Fire Service. After decades of putting his life on the line in two different professions, he was stepping back completely. During his time away from the cameras, he lived the life he'd chosen, focusing on his family and even writing a book about his experiences in the land of wilderness, which was published in 2020. He disappeared from the spotlight, choosing peace and privacy over celebrity. For a few years, Marty went quiet. His social media fell silent, and he returned to a private life, guided by the seasons instead of a production schedule. Fans wondered if they would ever see the legendary mountain man again. The tragedies and close calls he'd endured hadn't broken him, they had reshaped him, giving him a laser-sharp focus on what truly mattered. Then, in 2023, to the delight of his loyal followers, Marty Meierotto returned. He came back to Mountain Men, but he wasn't the same lone wolf viewers had met a decade earlier. This time, he was joined by his daughter, Noah, now a young woman confidently learning the skills her father had stepped away to teach her in private. His return wasn't a reversal of his decision, but the beautiful result of it. He had given his daughter the authentic, one-on-one education in the wild that he valued so much, free from the intrusion of cameras. Now, he was ready to share that incredible bond and the next chapter of his legacy with the world. The show now captures a father-daughter duo, a new generation learning the old ways. It's a story that has come full circle. The man who once went into the wilderness to find his freedom now finds his greatest purpose in passing that freedom on. His spirit, tested by fire, ice, and profound risk, remains as resilient as ever. He is more than a trapper or a TV star. He's a father, a mentor, and a powerful symbol of a life lived on one's own terms. Marty Meierotto's story is a powerful reminder that the toughest challenges aren't always the ones we see on screen. He built a life in one of Earth's most unforgiving places, but his biggest tests were against the fragility of life itself. He walked away from fame to honor his family and returned to share the legacy he fought so hard to protect. His journey, from a young man with a dream to a rugged icon and finally, to a dedicated father, is a testament to true courage and resilience. What do you admire most about Marty's decision to prioritize his family? Let us know in the